In August of 2017, Hurricane Harvey wreaked havoc over southeast Texas, specifically Houston. Over the hurricane's 5-day period of stalling over the city, the extreme precipitation caused major flooding, over 80 fatalities, and extensive economic costs.
Hurricane Harvey, which began its path in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and gradually became stronger as it went along, although it did lose some of its intensity at some points. Specifically, the storm weakened after it crossed over the Yucatan Peninsula but regained its strength and increased from a Category 3 hurricane to a Category 4 hurricane. Harvey made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane. The hurricane moved away from land back into the Gulf of Mexico, but quickly rerouted back into Louisiana for a final sweep across the southern coastline of the United States. The highest reported rainfall of 60.58 inches, which broke the record for the most rainfall in any tropical storm. Winds reached 130 miles per hour over the ocean, but dropped to 110 miles per hour when the hurricane reached land. The storm stayed intact enough to reach land, but it slowed down, allowing for more damage to be done to the infrastructure, which increased the overall cost of the hurricane. Texas has a multitude of inhibitors that do not allow the land to handle floods or the aftermath of floods very effectively or efficiently. Number 1, Texas is a very flat floodplain with a very shallow gradient sloping towards the Gulf of Mexico, which means that the excess water from the floods does not drain very quickly. Not only this, but Texas's clay-based soil does not allow for the water to be absorbed by the soil, and thus leaving it to flow across the city. Texas has 2 major rivers called San Jacinto and Buffalo Bayou. Although they are slow-running rivers that contain a lot of mud, so they overflow quickly and do not allow for quick and efficient drainage of excess water. All of these things compiled on to one another made Hurricane Harvey the second most costliest hurricane and second only to Hurricane Katrina.
The effects of Hurricane Harvey were catastrophic for not only Texas, but also the surrounding areas. The damages totaled $125 billion, making it the second most expensive hurricane since 1900. Most of the damage resulted from heavy rainfall and flooding, and floodwater reached up to 60 inches. More than 30,000 people were left without homes, and there ended up being 107 deaths in total. Considering Texas is on the coast, it is prone to disasters like hurricanes and tropical storms. Since 1980, Texas has been struck with over 70 tropical storms, the most catastrophic being Hurricane Harvey, Ike, and Rita. Over the years, humans have affected severity of floods by building metropolitan areas and disrupting drainage of cities. This has likely increased impacts of disasters like hurricanes.
There are many risks involved with hurricanes, and Harvey had some of the worst. Between dumping 275 trillion pounds of rain around the Houston area and damaging 40 wastewater treatment plants, the risk for disease and infection was severely increased after the hurricane hit. Not only was disease and infection increased due to the pollution from treatment plants, the flooding also allowed for mold to grow in many houses, and the large amount of water made a great breeding ground for mosquitoes, making the cleanup after Harvey even harder to deal with. There are many ways to reduce the impact of hurricanes on both legislative and local levels. One piece of legislative action that can be done to help is to provide free flood damages insurance to those living in coastal and hurricane-prone areas. And some ways to reduce the impact of hurricanes locally is to increase the amount of land covered by plants and trees and to add more permeable pavement options, as they will give the land a more natural filtration rate in times of high stress such as a hurricane.